Hey, welcome to the Elite Mark Order podcast. This is JayV. I'm here with Cosmic Scott and maybe Jim Cornette. And today we're going to review the November 30th Dynamite number 165 from 2022. That's right. So go ahead, Scott.
I was just going to say, so they were in Indianapolis. Man, they were quiet all night, weren't they? It's just a couple of segments. Otherwise, that audience felt dead to me. It was really quiet.
I didn't think they were dead. I think I would consider them average.
Okay.
I thought they were all right. I think there was only a couple times where I'm like, come on, guys, let's get a little more pop going. But I didn't think it was too bad.
MJF had to work to keep that audience loud. So,
Yeah.
anyways, Dynamite.
Yep. So show starts. John Moxley comes walking out with his, I'd say mostly a generic promo. He didn't have too much to say about MJF or anything. He was just talking about how he's the guy. He's the number one wrestler in the world. Blah blah blah. And then Hangman Page music hits.
Mm-hmm. I didn't expect that. I did not expect Hangman to show back up. I think that's the point. He caught everybody by surprise, and that's clearly the next little feud that Mox is going to have, the returning Hangman, appropriately enough. I felt it was a little odd that Mox didn't talk at all about MJF, even though he was so livid and ready to chew nails last week. So this week he comes out, he basically plants his flag and says, I am AEW, beat me to prove it. Okay.
Yeah, clearly they've moved on from Mox versus MJF, and Hangman coming out was awesome. I was really glad to see him. I was concerned we might have another Adam Cole situation where he could be out indefinitely. So yeah, Adam Cole's music hits, crowd pops for him. He gets in Mox's face. Mox had a great line. He's like, "Are you sure you want to do this after what happened last time? Do you not remember what happened?" Which was just a great line.
That caught the audience. They definitely went, ooh. They were into the to that first couple segments. There's no doubt about that. And Mox is as always great on the stick. Hangman is not bad, but he didn't need to have a segment. He was there to fight. And fight they did. Into the audience, into the back, through several more segments. They were fighting.
Yeah, it was multiple segments. It got Moxley ejected from the building, which allowed the whole MJF Regal thing to happen without Mox interfering.
And that's just good staging, by the way. That's just intelligent staging with whoever designed the overall production of the show. They did it well. I mean, obviously Tony Khan's involved in everything, but I don't know if he's doing that level of production or if there's people on the crew that are doing it. But I got to say, just the way that all flowed together, I thought was great.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this matchup. I hope they go long with this story, and I hope they go fierce, and I hope they go hardcore. You remember the match that Hangman had it All In against Joey Janela.
Right.
There were just some crazy spots in that match. Hangman could definitely bring it in the hardcore type matches, so I'm really hoping we can see an awesome blood feud between those two guys. I think it'll be hot. Just a ton of potential here.
You think they go for another lights out type match?
I think that would be incredible. That is would probably be in the top 10 things I would want to see, like potential top things I would want to see in AEW. I think Mox can really elevate Hangman here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And of course, Moxley knows that's his job. It was MJF's job before, not MJF. It was Punk's job before he went rogue. And the whole entire promotion's first 2 years was to build up Hangman. He's still the star that Tony Khan wants to absolutely make and can make because he's got all the tools. So I think definitely a good program with Mox, some hard hits. They're going to be blood. And I think that maybe a lights out. The lights out match is starting to feel like AEW signature match, especially the way they highlighted it in the Fight Forever commercial with Britt.
Yeah. The lights out matches have been good. So Hangman and Mox have met 3 times in the past. during their entire careers. They've only met 3 times.
Wow.
The first time was the third Dynamite. It was Hangman and Kenny versus Mox and Pac.
Oh,
And if you remember, that's
Jesus.
where Mox had just shown up and was feuding with Kenny. Mox and Pac got into a fight, and Mox walked out on Pac, and Kenny and Hangman ended up pinning Pac in a 2-on-1 situation. So that was their first matchup. So Hangman and Mox probably, I don't even know how much, I'd have to go back and watch it, but I don't even remember them locking up.
They
The second
really have
match,
not. Yeah, you're right.
their second match was the ladder match last October, and the winner of that ladder match would get Kenny at Full Gear. So this was setting up Hangman to win the title off of Kenny last November.
Right.
And Hangman and Mox did have some awesome spots in that ladder match for the title shot. I remember Hangman giving Mox a dead eye, which is that
Yeah.
reverse like pile driver finisher off
Almost the
the ladder.
beach break.
Yeah,
Same sort of move.
yeah, yeah. So that was awesome. And then they met 6 weeks ago, where Mox gave Hangman the concussion. I'm
And
sorry, yeah.
he gave himself the concussion by the way he landed doing a move, but
Hmm.
let's face it, they're giving Mox the credit for hurting him story wise. And
What
it's what's that?
I was just gonna say, was it how he landed, or was it that shot? Because Mox hit him hard in the head.
It's hard to know then. I mean,
Yeah,
realistically, I thought it was the way he landed just because it was so awkward. But
yeah.
who knows? I mean, they know, and what's important is they're man enough to do business. Unlike,
Concussions. Yeah, concussions are so weird though. You just don't know. It's like, Sidney Crosby, the hockey player,
mhm.
got his second concussion on what seemed like a harmless hit against the boards. He got pressed against the board, and his head just, like, it was kind of a light tap that you would never even notice. That put him out for over a year.
You ever get
That, that
hit in the nads, the light ones hurt the most. That's all I'm
yeah,
saying. The ones that nick you are the ones that are much more dangerous than the full on rocket to the
yeah.
you know. Anyways, the
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, the concussion protocols are heavy. That's why Adam Cole's not back. I'm glad to see Adam Page is back, but they're tough guys, and they're gonna do what they can to get back. And I think this could be a proving match for Hangman to prove he is a legit tough guy and can go toe to toe with somebody like Mox. Absolutely, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I really hope Tony pushes this rivalry, makes it into a rivalry with some memorable moments,
Mm-hmm.
because I have a ton of potential here. I hope he doesn't just, one and done it, or just build it. I mean, I don't know. I guess I think, like, this feud could climax at Revolution, but we could have 3 or 4 banger matches on the way up to that pay-per-view, up to the next pay-per-view.
Absolutely.
So
That's the thing is they could do it on TV. They could do it all the way up to the pay-per-view and then have another great match on the pay-per-view. So that's why I'm excited to see where they're going to go with it. I hope that the excitement that we have right now with the potential is actualized. That's some of the shortcomings AEW has had is they haven't been able to fully actualize some of the potential matches, but hopefully this will be one of the good ones, or at least a string of them.
yep, hopefully.
All right, so on to the actual matches. The first one
All
up
right.
was Bryan Danielson versus Dax, and holy crap, did they beat the hell out of each other. Just walloped each other with clotheslines, with chops. My God. And for a minute I thought, wait, they're wrestling strong style. It was a very Japanese style wrestle. And I'm like, well, of course, because Bryan Danielson is a master of the style. And then I'm like,
Yep.
it's almost an Ishii match with all the chops so hard that it makes you bleed. It was just one of those very strong style matches where all they did was beat the living hell out of each other, and then they went into the technical stuff and ended with a submission, which, again, Dax proves he is a hell of a singles wrestler against probably arguably the best in the business, Bryan Danielson.
Yep.
And
yeah, I consider him one of the best for sure. This is, I think this was another good test for Dax. How can he hold up against the top stars? We got to see him fight Ospreay earlier this year, which was an excellent match, and he certainly had other. He had a match against CM Punk and a few other high profile matches. He's done well in all of them. I guess some of my notes on the match were I did notice Bryan of course came out the heel tunnel on the left,
Yep.
which was something you pointed out the last time.
He has been since he got here. He's been coming out that left tunnel, even though I think by the end of this episode he's probably a face. But say let's go through this match.
All right. Dax had the Bret Hart tribute to try and start the match with the sharpshooter. One of the things I really liked was he did an Okada roll, kind of a sunset roll up into to get a near fall on Danielson, and Danielson kicked out. And from the momentum of that kick out, Dax actually jumped up onto the second rope and kind of springboarded into a high cross body onto Bryan, who had just got up, which I thought was a very, very cool sequence of moves in the corner.
Absolutely, and the timing on all of what they did was phenomenal.
Dax led most of the offense in this match. He didn't work a lot of bumps in this match. He took a lot of hits from the chops and the clotheslines, but he did not work a lot of moves. He countered almost everything, which was kind of interesting. I loved at one point he hit 3 rolling back suplexes, the Benoit suplex, repeating suplexes, which led to a "This is wrestling" chant. It's always good to hear that.
Well, and the fact is, Bryan Danielson versus Dax Harwood is literally on paper a pure wrestling brawl. And the audience started chanting, "This is awesome," 3 seconds after they locked up at the beginning of the match. They were so excited to see this match, and it paid off.
What did you think of the part of the match where both Bryan and Dax were on their hands and knees, and Bryan started headbutting Dax, and they started headbutting each other, almost junkyard dog style?
The first 2 headbutts looked legit. There were no hands. After that, they started using their hands to do the normal headbutt spot. But I'm like, are you freaking serious? Did they literally just headbutt each other? They couldn't have. But they made it look good. Just more examples of how good they both are, how good Bryan is at selling and making everything believable, even if you know deep down it can't be. Because if you've ever headbutt somebody with the top of your head, that is the absolute worst thing to do.
Yeah,
that's the soft spot.
Yep, that's the Shibata style that got him, that almost killed himself doing that. Okada. Of course, he did that multiple times. He would headbutt with the soft part of his head, so he would hurt himself and not his opponent. And he would do it so hard that he would bust himself open the hard way. Anytime I see Daniel Bryan using his head in any type of offense, I always get concerned. I mean, we did just lose him for a few months, not too long ago.
Everybody's been getting hurt, so let's just keep that talk to a minimum.
But Bryan's concussion history is definitely concerning. So I would prefer to. I don't like seeing guys with concussion histories doing headbutts. It's just a personal thing.
I'm with you. I know his neck injury was the one that put him actually out for a long time, but and that's the thing, is nobody wants to see him hurt in the head and neck. That's why he does it. Yeah. Because he's crazy and he's selling, and he's like, I want people to believe this match because he's fantastic.
Yeah, it definitely gets the hardcore fans who've been watching this shit for 30 plus years like us invested.
Right, and every time I'm like, stop it, Danielson, stop it already. I hate it. I do. I really do. I hate seeing it because he's so good at making me believe it.
Yeah. My favorite spot in the match was Bryan goes to hit the Busaiku knee on Dax. Dax counters that into a slingshot Liger bomb. just perfectly executed. Like it, I'm not going to say it looked like a Misawa Tiger Driver, but it was just wonderfully executed. I thought that was so sharp. And it's like I'm not a huge Dax fan for various reasons. His attitude on Twitter, and he's not exactly the most charismatic speaker, but that guy can freaking wrestle, and that was one of the most incredible sequences I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, I can't argue it. I mean, the fact is, Dax showed again he's a phenomenal wrestler, and
Yep.
that's the whole point. Was for him to showcase how good he was against the best, and he did.
Mm.
And for
He
no
did.
other reason than pure pride. And I loved at the end, after the match was over, he got up. Danielson's offering his hand. That's what I was talking about with the face turn. He offered his hand, like, dude, you impressed the shit out of me. You are so good. You just came up short. Shake my hand. Dax pretended to walk past him being the grumpy old man, then turned around like, fuck that. And he hugged him, and it was just, that was brilliant. It was a pure face versus face match,
Yeah.
even though Danielson
Yeah.
has been a heel up until now.
I don't know what I thought of the diss that Dax did.
It was
I
a joke. It was clearly a joke because he turned around immediately.
Dax is a dick though. He's
It's
definitely a dick.
That's why it
But
worked.
I,
That's why you bit.
you're right. That's why people on Twitter were bitching like Dax.
Mm-hmm.
Dax, what an asshole! That he blew off Brian there, even if it was just for a second. He made it right, but it's still disrespect. You don't do it to legends.
I'm with you, but
So
he's playing the audience. That's
yeah,
his job. So I think he did a great. I loved it, and then I bit. I thought seriously he was going to walk past him. Like, seriously, Dax, after all that, but he got me to bet. He turned around.
yeah.
I loved it. I loved it.
The last thing I want to talk about with that match was the finish.
Oh,
Uh, Brian countered. So there were a ton of counters in this match.
oh yeah.
Who's almost like who's the guy that does the wrestling stats, the wrestling musings?
Oh, I don't know offhand.
I want to see if the pro wrestling musing guy did stats on this match because he tracks the number of counters in a match. This match almost had no offense, straight up offense, unless it was off a reversal or off a counter. And it was, going back and watching it a second time, it was pretty evident. I'm like, all the moves in this match are coming off counters, and I think that's one of the reasons why it did so well, with no build, no real build,
Mm-hmm.
and face versus face match. But they both did an awesome job, so I was super happy with the match.
I hadn't noticed that it was all off counters, but the entire match started with the standing switches, and it
Yeah,
ended with the, I don't know, what was it, 10 roll up counter, roll up counter, roll up counter into the label lock. I was like, are
yeah.
you freaking kidding me? It was great.
My only complaint about the match was the finish. I think they could have done a few near falls, or false finishes. I don't like the terminology false finish. I mean, I guess I don't know enough about that to say I don't like it or I like it or I don't. I don't know if that's like, real slang that the wrestlers use. So like if you hit a finisher and someone kicks out, they call that a false finish. Or if there's a really close, they call it a false finish. I like to call it a close finisher, not a false finish. But anyhow, yeah, I thought there could have been a couple more spots at the ending to build up the finish a little more. I was kind of shocked that Dax tapped there. I thought he was close enough to the ropes, that he was going to get to him, and we'd see a few more counters to Brian getting the win. But other than that, everything was great.
I mean, I hear what you're saying about the near falls, about the getting the audience to buy in that there was a finish. There were a
Mhm.
couple of those spots, just not in that ending sequence. They did have a couple of near falls.
Yeah, yeah,
So they did build up. I mean, obviously they're masters. I think it was beyond phenomenal.
yeah. So while we're talking about Dax and FTR, they have been fighting more, and I don't know if it's because Dax and Cash are healthier than they were over the summer. They had all those huge matches to win those, their four titles, or their three titles,
Three,
and then they kind of sat out. They were all iced up after their matches. So So I think they're starting to get healthy, and this is kind of getting into Rampage. They Acclaimed teased that they were going to defend the titles against the top tag team in AEW, which arguably.
Has to be FTR.
So who knows what we're going to get with the Acclaimed on Friday.
We'll find out when we get there, but the way they teased it, I was like, it has to be FTR. It has to be. But if it's not, then the Acclaimed's trolling us, and that's they're pure babyface right now. So
right,
it's hard to know exactly what they're doing, but I guess we'll see tomorrow if I watch it.
Right. It is a kind of a weaker card. So
it really is.
Anyways. Up next, we had Renee Young interviewing the Blackpool Combat Club minus Jericho, and Claudio and Yuta were there.
Right. It was in a warehouse, or it was obviously some section that they found in the arena, but it just seemed like some weird warehouse corner.
Yeah.
And okay, so they're back to talking about, so now the deal is Claudio, if he loses to Jericho at the big final battle, he has to join the JAS. Otherwise, he wins the title. Yay. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I love Claudio, love Jericho. I'm starting to get a bit tired of the BCC versus the JAS. I'm not going to kid you.
Yeah, it's gone on too long. There's still some compelling matchups there, but yeah, it's time for change.
Move on. At least break for a little bit, come back to it or something. But Renee trying to get control of the JAS was good, but it was just like, man, why is she even here? And
right.
The whole format just didn't work, in my opinion. And okay, so we got one side talking about just smack, the other side talking, they could have done it standing. I don't know why they did it in the weird warehouse corner. I don't know what that was about.
Jake did throw an extra purple bucket hat at Claudio. I thought Claudio was going to put it on.
No, that's the whole point, is he won't. If he does, then he's a sports entertainer.
So maybe they're foreshadowing Claudio losing to Jericho and then having to wear the purple bucket hat.
That's what I'm assuming. Yeah, that's what I'm assuming is going to happen. They'll force the two, Hager and Claudio to tag because Hager apparently can't move out of the past. And I don't know. I'm not super enthusiastic about this overall storyline because, first and foremost, it's an ROH storyline.
Yep.
And the other part that showed up at the end of the interview, now Yuta is going to wrestle for the Pure against Garcia. Now, I was intrigued when Garcia might join the Blackpool Combat Club, and then they just kind of killed that.
Right.
And now they're like, okay, well, Claudio will join against his will. So I'm really not into that particular story that they're trying to tell. And for me, part of it is because it's about two ROH titles.
Yeah, I mean, it's setting up the Final Battle pay-per-view, which is understandable, but it doesn't mean that AEW fans have to like it.
And I'm not going to watch it. That's just not, I'm just not interested in watching it.
Yeah.
That's all. And so I don't want to watch it on Dynamite of all places.
Right. I'm not planning on purchasing the pay-per-view, the ROH pay-per-view, because I wasn't an ROH fan in the mid 2000s. So why do I want to watch ROH now when I'm, my basically dream promotion has been formed, and now they're stuffing it full of guys from TNA, and they're stuffing it full of guys from ROH, and they have ROH titles all over the show. So Tony did say in a tweet, or it might have been from an interview that was tweeted out, that he's considering doing less ROH stuff on AEW. So that's a good sign. So hopefully he's getting the message.
Well, and I think hopefully they're going to get their own TV show. He's been working that deal. That's why Jericho has the title. I get it. Either give him a deal or get whatever. Put him on YouTube. I'm just tired of all the ROH titles. I'm tired of the wrestlers. I really don't care about Prince Nana, and Brian Cage has never impressed me. They're on Dark Elevation. Great, leave them there. I don't need to see the ROH stuff because it just doesn't hold any interest. AEW is what I got into. It's what I want to watch. It's the promotion I'm emotionally invested in, ROH can go do its own thing.
Right.
And once that happens, I'll be happier. And I think it'll be a better AEW show.
I agree. I'm rooting for ROH to get their deal and to get off of AEW programming. So.
Right. Just be successful somewhere else.
Right. I mean, Tony had all his multiple different promotions in his fantasy booking league, and now it's all coming to life for him. Well, dude, separate the promotions, please.
No.
Let's move on.
We don't need cross-brand warfare. Just leave them separate.
We don't need 17 titles on one show. I mean, anyhow. So let's move away from ROH and get back into the next match, which is it's Samoa Joe against AR Fox with the ROH TV title.
At least it was for the TNT title. That's all I'm saying. At least it was for the TNT title.
So AR Fox he's 35 years old, and I think I may have even mentioned this in the last podcast. I mean, the guy has some incredible aerial offense.
Yep.
And it's crazy that I've never heard of him. So I'm glad he's finally getting a break. He's getting a fight on TV. That'll probably, and he did sign with AEW earlier today. It became official.
It was earlier. It was basically right before the show started that he officially signed, and Tony said, "Okay, welcome to the promotion. Here's your first match for the TNT Championship." And okay, cool. I like AR Fox. What's that?
They brought in a lot of guys with the TNT title like that. Their first foray after signing or the last match before they get an AEW contract is the TV title, and I like that, the TNT title being used like that.
Absolutely. Now the fact is, it was Samoa Joe. I do like him. Okay, so he's ROH. I get it. He's the ROH TV. Okay, I get it. But this to me was an AEW match. Because it's newly signed AEW AR Fox, who I was impressed with last week, who I liked on Dark. I was like, this guy's good. He's got his own school. So again, that's building the AEW foundations for the future. He's a future coach. He's a future trainer. He's someone who's got a school that they can pick and choose the best from. And I think that's good. He had a great match. He had some good spots. He's amazing aerial. I love the trios with Top Flight, and God, I hope that Dante gets healthy soon. But those guys as a trio, I think are going to put on some stellar matches. AR Fox here did well against Joe, but it was Samoa Joe, and he beat the hell out of him, as expected.
Yeah. Fox did hit a beautiful 450 splash, but it's just wasn't even close or believable that could keep Joe down. So
no.
Joe hit the muscle for the win shortly after, and then he declared himself the king of television and said, "This is a new era." I'm like, wait a minute. Samoa Joe, dude, you've been on TV for 20 plus years. How is this a new era with you?
It's no different than Jericho's new era for ROH. So, you know what? Let him run with it. Whatever. Joe is entertaining. I like him. Double champion. As a matter of fact, they also called him the undisputed AEW TNT title holder or whatever, champion. So there are two Joes of Samoan descent who are double champions. The other, of course, being Reigns.
Okay.
I could tell by your response you didn't quite get what my reference. So yeah, Joe Inoue is obviously Samoan and is a Joe.
Okay.
And is a Joe.
Yeah.
Which, again, when he met Roman Reigns, he's like, "You're not Samoa Joe to me. You're just Joe." Which is funny because he's a Joe. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Samoa Joe pretty much beat him as expected. 6.5 minutes. Good match. Good highlight for AR Fox, and good for him. I liked it.
Yeah, just for future reference, I don't have much knowledge about Roman Reigns because he's probably the biggest reason why I stopped watching WWE years ago. So just was not interested in him at all. So,
okay, well, good to know. Now you know his name is Joe.
So any Roman Reigns stuff is most likely just going to go whoosh right over my head. So.
All right, well, I'll keep that in mind for next time.
Unless you're talking about feeding your entire roster to one guy for for 10 years and giving him a crappy finisher that is one of the worst spears in the history of the business. But anyhow, we're here to be positive about AEW.
We're positive Pete's on this show, damn it.
Right. That's right.
All right. After Joe, was there another interview segment? I think it was Jamie Hayter, wasn't it?
Wardlow was in a pre-recorded interview. I think it was pre-recorded. Mocked Joe after the match, and kind of mocked him, saying, you know, he was the king of television. And so they didn't announce anything, unless I missed it. They didn't announce Joe and Wardlow fighting, but I think they might be fighting at their ROH pay-per-view, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen.
So I did hear that he wanted to fight for the TNT title at the ROH pay-per-view, which I don't think I like.
That would be that's just wrong.
I don't like that. So I hope I heard wrong, but I'm afraid I heard right.
Yeah, because that TNT title's only been defended at pay-per-views a couple times. AEW doesn't even defend on their own pay-per-views.
The TNT is literally a television title. Should remain on TV. Like Samoa Joe is a dual TV champion. That's kind of the point of his King of TV reference. And I love that. That's why it should only be defended on TV and not at a pay-per-view. So maybe they're going to do it at Winter is Coming. Maybe I misheard.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's been announced yet, so we'll see. Well, looks like we have a guest in joining the podcast.
All right. Well, let's. Oh God, I don't know if I want to open the door. There he is. He's already in. He snuck in like I don't know.
You know, I was just waiting on one of y'all to address me instead of just sit there and talk about your goddamn fucking selves for 20 goddamn minutes. Let's see here. So first, before I get to the main event, I want to discuss the whole William Regal thing. So listen to this. We hear MJF and William Regal to come out. William Regal does a little bit of an announcement for MJF. Then they introduce a new championship, and MJF goes on this long rant before he finally knocks out William Regal from behind with his brass nuts. I'm like, are you kidding me? And he sits there and he sells it for a long time. They take 20 years to get the guy out of there, and they finally do it with Bryan Danielson running out to the ring. I mean, why the hell is a heel turning on another heel? Like, it makes no damn sense. Why is he turning on him? It's just completely stupid. And on top of that, the main event, you have Twinkle Toes and his little fucking butt buddies taking on Death Triangle. And of course, Twinkle Toes and his buddies finally get the win. I really am just wondering why they didn't give the win to Twinkle Toes already. I mean, you might as well just go ahead and do it. We all know you're going to put Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks as the Trios Tag Team Champions by the end of the series. You might as well just go ahead and say, all right, guys, so we're going to end the series here. We're just going to go ahead and hand the championship back to the Elite and Twinkle Toes. That's that simple. Instead of just doing this whole long, drawn-out, dumbass fucking series that is unwatchable. It is unwatchable, damn it. Completely unwatchable. You're just sitting there waiting for these guys to do their next spot, and it's all flippy-dippy, hippy-chippy, skippy shit.
Oh, enough, Cornette. Enough already. Jesus, do you ever have anything positive to say?
Come on, Jim.
I am not a positive man, damn it, okay? Now, what I will say is this. I do have one perfect criticism. I do have one nice thing to say. Sami Zayn is one of the greatest wrestlers right now, going alongside with Roman Reigns.
Do you realize what show you're on? Do you know that this is not a WWE-centric program?
To hell with AEW. To hell with what's even on the card. I don't give a shit.
Why do you even show up if you hate the program? Why do you watch it? Why do you talk about it constantly if you hate it?
Because I'm allowed to give my unauthorized opinion, okay? Because I am a wrestling personality. I'm a wrestling veteran. I've been around the business for years. I was sitting there with Ric Flair getting high.
Yeah,
okay,
how'd that work out for you, by the way? Where's your promotion? How'd that work out for you?
Now, listen here, boy. My promotion might have been dead. Smoky Mountain Wrestling might have been dead. But you know what? It was the wrong time to open up the business. It was the wrong time to open up a promotion. Because every damn thing, wrestling was in a recession. That's just it. Wrestling was in a damn recession. and it wasn't going to get any better. So I might as well just go
Maybe-
ahead and let the WWF take me down and then go side with them and become the manager of Owen Hart and Yokozuna. Mantar, who, by the way, was one of the greatest wrestlers to ever step foot in the ring. Serious gimmick. I don't care what anyone else says. It wasn't a comedy gimmick. It was very serious business. Just like how people say that I'm a comedy gimmick myself because I have the damn tennis racket. I'm not a comedian, okay? I am a serious wrestling man, all right? You can never find anyone more serious than me.
Jim, wasn't Sami Zayn better when he was El Generico and he was wearing a mask and talking in Spanish?
Oh man, fuck the El Generico shit, okay? He's better in the bloodline, sitting there doing his shit. He's better in the bloodline. The bloodline's only interesting because of Sami Zayn. Fuck El Generico. Fuck the fans chanting Olay. Who cares? Who cares about that? And who cares about Kevin Owens' fucking fat ass waddling down in the ring and getting involved in more matches when he shouldn't even be there?
So
He's
Cornette,
just
hold
as
on.
bad, if not, than Kenny Omega.
Let me ask you this. You said something about Regal laying there like a dead fish. Would it have been better if MJF had hit him with a tennis racket instead of brass knuckles?
Boy, the brass knuckles are one thing, but the tennis racket, that is my gimmick, damn it. My gimmick. No one is going to steal Jim Cornette's gimmick. Nobody steals from Jim Cornette, because if you do, I will sue you into the poorhouse, damn it. I will sue you.
Hey,
if you
speaking
steal
of
my
sue,
tennis racket, I will sue
when
you.
was the last time you went to Wendy's?
Boy, you are really fixing for me to knock you the hell out by damn tennis racket. I don't have to sit here and I don't have to take this bullshit anymore. Fuck AEW, fuck you, and fuck Vince Russo. He is shit, and so is AEW. They are all nothing but fucking shit, and so are you, and so's your little butt buddy. I'm out. Fuck all y'all. Goodbye.
All right, that was some wonderful commentary from Jim as usual. We appreciate his veteran opinion on things, his cool, calm, and collected and logical approach to criticism and commentary on the world of professional wrestling.
I can still smell him in the studio.
Did you see in the opening match, the opening segment of AEW, there was a guy with the sign with the Cornette reference, and I'm not gonna honor the sign by repeating what it said, but it was only there for a couple minutes and then it just disappeared. And I'm thinking
they killed it. You know they killed it.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was. I do remember In-N-Out fears Whataburger.
Yeah, I remember what it was, but I'm not going to perpetuate that nonsense by repeating it on this podcast that's listened to by millions and millions of wrestling fans around the world.
That's true. That is true. We don't want to do that, especially for our third episode.
Right.
All right. So we had the Wardlow stuff.
Yeah, and then up next was a Hobbs segment where Hobbs was walking down a street saying something about taking what is his, and he walked into a store, and that was it.
Yeah. Well, they showed that on, I think it was Elevation, or no, it was on Dark. They did it as an intro there, and it's showing him in the hood, and it's showing that people are afraid of him. The people shooting dice on the streets, who you think are pretty thuggy, are afraid of Hobbs. They're like, dude, keep an eye on him. So I get what they were trying to do. I like the little vignette. It's telling a story of who Hobbs is and where he's from. But in isolation, yeah, he took a walk in the neighborhood and went and did some shopping.
Yeah, it was a short. It was a short segment. Just, I don't know. I just thought it was kind of strange. I was expecting something to happen, but who knows? There's more to come on that one. After that, there was a segment with Taz analyzing Hook being Moriarty from Rampage last week. It was fine, just talking about the submission hold.
Yeah.
And up next was probably what will be the most talked about segment on the show. I shouldn't say probably, because it clearly is the most talked about segment on the show. William Regal introducing the new AEW Heavyweight Champion.
Well, you gotta love Regal. Came out to, music. People booed him. He's again, he didn't get a huge amount of reaction because Indianapolis, I think, by this point was a little confused maybe. But he came out, did the intro for MJF. As always, he's got a presence. I've been watching him for years, back when he was Steven Regal, back when he was, working with Davey Boy or whatever. He's been or the Gentleman or whatever it was. He's been around a long time. I've been watching him a long time. He's always been an amazing heel. And the Black...
And not to be confused with the original Steve Regal, Mr. Electricity from the AWA.
Yeah. But his whole face of the BCC didn't make sense to me. Him as a face didn't really work. Okay, him hitting on Excalibur, my little love muffin cupcake, that was funny, but it got old. And just as a heel, I love Regal. So he was a heel for about a week. No, a couple days. From Saturday to Wednesday, he was a true heel. Now, he came out, introduced MJF. MJF did his shtick. Came out, introduced his new belt, which I absolutely saw coming. The moment I saw the stand, I knew he was getting his own belt. As well he should. He's that type of character. Even if he doesn't have a long reign, he feels he's that level. He even brought up the people, San Martino. He brought up Hogan. He brought up, Jeff Jarrett of all people. Why Jeff Jarrett?
He brought up Hogan, JBL, and Double J. I think I have some I took some notes on that because I thought there might be something more to those three references. Why did he mention those three guys and then Bruno?
Bruno is obvious because he is like 1,000+ days or something. It's years that will never be matched. And the fact that they're doing it with Roman is saying a lot. But so he mentioned Bruno. He mentioned holding it forever. You were going to say
Bruno. So he first mentioned Hogan. Hogan's first reign in WWF was 1474 days, just over 4 years long. Then he mentioned two other guys, JBL and Jeff Jarrett. JBL's only title reign was in 2004-2005. It was 280 days.
I remember.
JBL, yeah, I did not like JBL.
It was a long title reign.
It was 280 days, and he beat Big Show, Undertaker, Eddie Guerrero, Booker T. So he faced some decent competition. I was not a JBL fan, so I wasn't going to watch any of his work. And the only match that I've seen, a comment from our audience that JBL was one of the most painful champs to endure. He did have one match I liked, and that was the hardcore match against Eddie Guerrero, which was was possibly more blood in that match than any match I've ever seen.
The blood match, absolutely. That's exactly it.
Here we are praising JBL.
I'm not praising JBL. That was an Eddie match. It
Yeah.
happened to be against JBL, but that was an Eddie match.
Right. So up next, you have Double J that he mentioned. So I was kind of looking through Double J's NWA/TNA title runs. Jeff Jarrett's longest run was 04-05, which, interestingly enough, was the same year as JBL's 04-05. He had that title for 347 days, and the notables he successfully defended against included AJ Styles, DDP, Jeff Hardy, and Kevin Nash. So it wasn't a bunch of slouches that Jarrett was defending against. I didn't watch TNA back then, so I'm not really aware of how good the promotion was doing at that time or anything, but of everything MJF could have picked, he picked Hogan and Bruno to represent WWE, and it's number 1 and 2 longest reigns.
Mm-hmm.
And then he mentioned those two reigns from 04 and 05 with two of the most despised wrestlers in all of wrestling, JBL and Double J. So maybe that's where he's getting at. He's playing off the bidding war of 24 to go to WWE, where Hogan and Bruno had the greatest reigns ever. But he's going to do it being a heel, a dickish heel like JBL and Double J were.
And San Martino obviously was a face, and Hogan was a face. So I see that could be. I mean, that's a theory that I hadn't thought about. I thought he brought up Double J because Jeff's actually in the promotion now.
Yeah.
And it was a different promotion than WWEF. It was Impact, TNA.
Mm-hmm.
And the only other ones were from the big guy from WWE, where he wants to go.
Yeah.
The only
So
reason he
3,
brought up
4.
Jeff, was because Jeff's in the promotion. I don't think in his head when he wrote this promo 20 years ago, when he becomes champion, it's Hogan, it's JBL, and it's San Martino. I think the Jeff Jarrett was just because Jeff's in the promotion. Honestly.
How old was MJF in 0405, since he's referencing those 2 reigns? Let's see. So, let's see. MJF's 26, so he would have been, well, it would have been 96. So he would have been like 8 or 9 during those reigns. And those are formative years for wrestling fans, I would say. Like, you can remember every match you saw from those years.
You mean the Hogan years?
No, I think any 9 or 10-year-old kid watching wrestling, those are like the formative years where you remember everything. You remember every angle and how you felt, and you can recite the matches. So I think for kids, that's a big year for wrestling fans, because I know it's like the same way I have 3 younger brothers, and they can all remember a lot of the shows during those years. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of interesting.
Oh, those are definitely formative years, but again, MJF mentioning those guys, sure, 2 heels, 2 faces, all with extremely lengthy title runs. That's what he wants to do. I'm with you. Then came the turn. Now, I didn't see it as a heel turning on a heel. I saw it as a mega heel being born, as somebody who is so bad, he will turn on everyone. Now, that's not quite Steve Austin DTA, don't trust anyone. This is, if you make a deal with him, he will stab you in the back. It's straight off of the I'm a Snake promo, which is based off of the I'm a Snake joke, which is, even if I'm saving your life, I'm a snake, I'm going to bite you. So I think that kind of plays into it, and I like it, but it's just the whole image of him putting Regal down, of them playing it so serious, really solidified MJF as a true heel. And then Bryan Danielson coming out and, hey, can you do it any faster, and showing all that concern. And then later getting in the ambulance with him, and they played it up. Oh, that's his surrogate father, and he really looked up to him. All of that, I think, turns Danielson face based off of the earlier match.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really amazing, because he never played up the heel very much, but people are going to love him as a face.
Yeah, and I think when we talk about ratings, I'm going to have some comments about how Bryan's been used. So I did want to say I totally loved what MJF said after he KO'd Regal, when he kind of kneeled down next to him, and he read the email that Regal sent to him when he was 18 years old and got rejected from WWE. I thought it was so real. Like, you talk about how Austin was like every working man's dream going against his boss. This is kind of the same thing, just from a different angle. Like, Regal was kind of the gatekeeper that blocked MJF from getting in WWE, even though it really wasn't Regal. It was WWE's direction. It was Vince's direction for the company. Regal just had to be the bearer of bad news, but MJF, waiting all this time, these 8 years, and here he is now on top of the wrestling world, one of the top guys in the business, being able to get revenge for that moment, I thought was huge. I thought it was incredibly well done.
Yeah, no, the emotional turnaround of I'll call you when I think you're at my level. Loved that. And that's what I said. It birthed a mega heel, because MJF showed he was on his level. He was better than Regal. I'm better than you, and you know it. All of that. I think it played into it, and he got his new title. And I think it might have been a little rushed doing all of that in one segment, because he could have done the title last week, but he was off doing his little, movie. So
I think the Triple B title is super sharp. What do you think of the Burberry strap?
It didn't stand out at a distance. When it got closer to it, I saw the Burberry. I was like, okay, yeah, that's cool. Totally plays into it. But the style and the design was identical.
The
And
plates were the same.
yeah, the plates was. I'm like, nah. I kind of would have preferred like the Brahma Bulls belt or the Smoking Skull belt or something.
I bought the replica title, so I was gonna be pissed if they stopped using it already. I would be like, the value of that title just plunged because it was only around for 3 years. So I'm
Yeah,
glad it didn't use plates. But yeah, I think like you said, the strap is a little dark. The Triple B strap,
yeah.
the big Burberry belt, they can lighten it up a little, but I think it looks awesome. I love the strap.
Overall, it looked good. It was a very muted Burberry, so it wasn't, it wasn't gaudy. It didn't. It came across as subtle and classy, which is what they wanted. But that's not what wrestling is. Wrestling is about the loud and the gaudy and the ostentatious. And so I don't think that the visuals were quite what the audience is used to, but I think it fit MJF perfectly. And he dumped the old one, kissed the new one. He sold it. That's the new belt. And now we move on. I loved his rationale. It's been tainted by those olds. I'm new and fresh. I'm young. I'm the champion and the future. So of course he gets his own belt. Loved it.
It was a loaded promo. The other thing that he explained was, Regal told him, with MJF meeting behind closed doors with Regal to talk about how he's going to beat Mox. Regal said to use the brass ring instead of the AEW ring.
Yes.
Because that would create an emotional scar for Moxley being turned on by Regal.
And the connection to the brass ring comment that Vince always made about you gotta grab the brass ring, which was always bullshit.
Yeah, the Bucks played up to that on BTE. They're always doing brass rings jokes.
Mm-hmm.
So there were references to other AEW wrestlers that I think was notable in the promotion that hints towards some future directions. He glossed over the Firm, said he respect him. So it doesn't seem like there could be any angle there with the Firm wanting to get revenge on MJF, and that's fine. I don't think they're on MJF's level. They don't need to be fighting him.
They were brought in, according to Stokely, they were brought in because CM Punk said, I want to work with him. Okay, well, guess what? Punk's gone.
Yep.
So, yeah, MJF doesn't want to work with him. Sorry, guys. Okay, well, find something else for him to do.
So, yeah, we'll see what happens to the Firm. I think they should just go to ROH and not AEW, but I don't know. We'll see. I'll give them some opportunity to win me over.
I like W. Morrissey. I like Page. I like the component. Well, not the guns. I like the components of the Firm. I'm okay on Stokely. I don't know him, so I don't have an opinion on him.
Yeah.
But they definitely are developmental. I mean, Ethan's not. Morrissey could be better, but he's just not being used. And,
Right.
And then their new addition, which, was it Lee Johnson? I think.
Yeah.
Either way, they're more of a developmental team. They need to keep working at things. So good on them. They're not at MJ's level at all. MJF's level at all.
So speaking of Morrissey, how about Morrissey, Satnam Singh, and the Big Show against Kenny and the Bucks for the 6-man titles, the trios titles?
Well, you'd first have to have Big Show turn 3 times. But I don't think they could do a good match. First of all, Satnam's too green. Morrissey could do great, and Big Show is far too immobile at his age. He could have a couple good matches, but he's still recovering from hip surgery and this, that, and the other. So if they were all in perfect health and Satnam Singh could wrestle, I think it would be a great match, big versus small, agile. But that's not a realistic team.
Right.
It's not.
That's what's tough for the big guys, especially in promotion like AEW, where your average wrestler is probably 190. How could these smaller guys compete against against those guys that are literally 3 or 4 times their size. It's just not believable. So anyhow, back to the other references that MJF made in his speech. He brought up Eddie Kingston,
Yeah.
Ricky Stark, who he called a fake star, and then he said, just getting back to Eddie, he said Eddie will never be world champion, and kind of goaded an Eddie chant from the crowd.
Yeah.
And I think some people are saying that Eddie Kingston will be the one to dethrone MJF.
Well, it would make sense because Eddie is the guy who shouldn't be champion. He's the guy who doesn't look right. He's the guy who doesn't talk right. He doesn't treat the corporate right. He breaks all the kayfabe rules. When he was doing Elevation, he was always yelling out right before the break would start. He was like, he is always inside baseballing everything. And so he's sort of the anti-wrestler ideal. And bringing him as a champion would be a phenomenal idea. He doesn't fit the bill, but he's beloved. And
he's the opposite of MJF.
Right. He's the man of the people. He's the guy that if you look at him and go, I'm him. That's me. Blue collar, fat, loves to eat pie, loves to drink, has some demons. That's the everyman. And I think Eddie as a champion is a great idea. Do I think he could defeat him? Absolutely. Would it be funny that this lengthy, I'm going to rule forever gets beat by the blue collar? Yes. I think that's fantastic. Starks, he's already said, I've got 2 shots at MJF. The diamond ring and the tournament that he won. I think he's going to have a great program against MJF. In the wings is Bryan Danielson. He's going to be pissed. And I think MJF is going to have some matches with him. I think he's going to have a program with 3 people at once. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to feud with all 3 of them at the same time. Something that you don't see a lot of.
Yeah, I think that could be. I think Revolution is going to be MJF versus Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson. I think they're setting that up. I think the Starks angle is going to be over after Winter is Coming. I think that's going to go by quickly. And then I'm not sure. Eddie is definitely a wild card to beat MJF, and it could be Eddie versus MJF at Revolution. I don't know that I'd like that. I think I'm not sold on Eddie Kingston as champ. I know a lot of people are, and a lot of people would love to see it. I'm just not there. I don't think Eddie is the type of wrestler who can go for 20 minutes to main event a pay-per-view. He blows up after about 10 minutes. And I just don't know that Eddie Kingston is a guy who can be headlining pay-per-views. You know, his face is going to be on the poster next to MJF. How many people are gonna tune in to see that match?
First of all, the people who know Eddie are going to watch that match like crazy because he's going to beat the fuck out of MJF. That's number 1. Number 2, when he wins, that pop is going to blow that place up. Number 3, when he shows up as champion that first week, the reception he's going to get will blow that place up. And when he loses the next week, or whenever it is, because he won't be champion long, when MJF gets his rematch and destroys him, MJF is going to be even bigger. That's what I see. Yes, Eddie will topple him for maybe a month. Maybe, I doubt a pay-per-view cycle. Maybe a week. Whatever it is, MJF will get it back almost immediately. And will ruin Eddie for about a week. He will ruin Eddie and just destroy him because he is going to get it back. But I think Eddie crushes him in the match, just beats him pillar to post, just pure slobber knocking, fisticuffs, clubbering, which by the way, clubbering is 4 fists on one guy.
Okay.
That was an old Dusty Rhodes clubbering. That's 4 fistuses on one dude.
Yeah.
It's a tag when you're in the corner and you're getting a clubbering. So But I think that there's just gonna be, he's gonna have a match where he just stomps a mud hole in him and walks it dry, and then the rematch, MJF will destroy him back and put him out for a week, maybe two, and just obliterate him. I think that will sell pay-per-views. Absolutely. He said it himself. You're going to buy the pay-per-view because you are going to want him to see him. You're going to want to see him beat me. And he won't. Yeah. So, of course, one pay-per-view he will. But then I think they'll have him start another title reign, and that will be a while.
Okay.
That's how I see it booked.
We could spend all day talking about potential suitors for MJF. I think another obvious one that wasn't mentioned, suspiciously wasn't mentioned, is Wardlow. I mean, Wardlow squashed MJF a few months ago, and it's almost like if they fought now, how would MJF win? It would be because that was such a one-sided match. So that we'll just have to keep an eye out. You know, where's Wardlow going to go after his feud with Joe, because he wants titles. So
I'm with you.
Maybe
and I forgot about Wardlow. I think he would be a good match because they have that history. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's ultimate. Like, and the other, of course, you know, Kenny Omega versus MJF would be, I mean, two geniuses in the ring together. That feud would be really interesting.
It's going to sell pay-per-views because it will happen.
Yeah. All right. I guess the last thing I'll say about that interview was, I could spend an hour talking about it, because, like I said, that was freaking loaded.
Oh yeah.
Just brilliance from start to finish. MJF says he'll be the champ until the bidding war 2024, where he'll use Triple B, the big bourbon belt, as a negotiating tactic. Says he hopes the right con foots the bill, and that's jolly old Saint Nick and the game trips.
Yeah, he definitely had his lines ready to go. The bidding war, first of all, the whole thing about him asking for more money and sitting out, that whole angle, when he came back, oh, I signed the new contract and didn't get extended, bullshit. If Tony Khan signed him to more money, he extended the contract, everything is kayfabe. There's just no chance he's going in 2024. That's the way I see it. That said, they're going to play the hell out of it.
Yep.
Do I think, and I got to bring this up, do I think Regal is going to get out of his contract and go back to WWE? I think it would be dumb for Tony to do it. I think when he brought Regal on, he brought him on for a reason, and part of that reason was backstage and was training and all of the stuff that Regal has been doing. I don't see that changing. I think in 3 years, if he doesn't want to stay and he wants to go back, that's entirely up to Regal. But I don't see him getting out. I think it's 3 years. I think that the story that originated from Dave Meltzer is Meltzer and the Bucks and AEW playing the dirt sheets, creating drama for clicks and stories where there is none, but doing it on purpose to play into the storyline.
So I actually went and looked through, I searched through the Observer newsletters to see when Regal showed up in AEW at, when was it? I have it.
It was February.
Let's see.
I don't remember the exact episode or whatever, pay-per-view or big event or whatever you want to call it, but it was February from what I remember.
It was after the Mox versus, it was the pay-per-view. It was Mox versus Bryan, and then Regal came up. He debuted AEW Revolution in March of this year. So he showed up, and they snuck him into the building, and no one knew he was there. And he came out and, you know, got a huge pop, and he basically split up the fight between Mox and Bryan and formed Blackpool.
Right.
So I looked through the Observer newsletters to see if there was mention of his 3-year contract for when he was hired. I couldn't find anything about that. Meltzer said that Regal said in an interview, which may or may not be on, they have their podcasts. It may or may not be on a podcast. I don't know. Like you said, it could just be a work from Regal, or I'm sorry, from Meltzer. Um, so Dave said today that he's heard differing stories from different sources, and he thinks it's a 3-year deal for sure. However, there could be exit clauses in there for Regal to leave and go back and work wherever he wants to. So that wouldn't be unheard of. Especially someone who is a capacity is more likely to be working backstage to have an exit clause. Like it's just like when sports athletes get an option year. It's player option, team option.
Right.
3-year deal. The player has an option each year to renew if he wants. So who knows? I think we don't know what's going to happen. A lot of people said Regal's going to be written off. Personally, I don't really care if Regal leaves. I like Regal, but I don't think, he's a huge. I just don't think he makes that big of a difference either way. But then at the same time, I think about how cool the Blackpool Combat Club was when it had formed, and would that have been even remotely close to the same if Regal wasn't there? So maybe I'm underestimating his impact on his time in AEW so far.
Yeah, I mean, everybody imagined what Regal could be versus what he's actually doing. We don't know what he's doing behind the scenes. We do know that there were conversations, people who've reported, where he will show up early and he will give advice and he will give training to anybody that shows up. He and Danielson, that is a known fact because that's the passion he's got. Now, that being said, when he came into AEW, we don't know the details of his contract. He might have options out. He might have options to go purely backstage at AEW. We know he was on screen because people love him and they wanted him on screen, but he hadn't been on screen really in NXT for a long time. He'd been doing mostly backstage stuff. He came out for War Games, and that's about it, So I don't know what Regal wants.
Right.
I support whatever he really wants to do, but I think if he did sign a long contract, stick with it. If he showed up in March, we're talking 8 months, 9 months. There's no way he only had a 9-month contract. Had to have been a year. Had to have been. The only person who had a shorter contract was Leo fucking Rush, who had a 6-month contract, and they got the hell out of that.
Yeah. Tony was. Tony could see the writing on the wall there.
Absolutely. And Regal, you wanted to lock down. You're like, this man is brilliant. He is such a wrestling god. Yes, he would lock him down for 3 years if he could.
Yeah.
But are there options? We don't know. So we'll just have to see where it goes. I hope I see Regal back because I like what the Blackpool Combat Club could be. And I think him and Danielson could still have a good program with MJF. But I don't know. We'll find out.
All right. So we're about almost to the halfway point of the show, and we've been going for an hour.
Yeah. So, but the rest of the show is not as important.
Right. So do you want to keep going, or do you want to?
Well, I mean, I want to finish this up.
Okay. So
let's concentrate. Let's focus.
All right. So after the MJF segment, we had Ricky Starks versus Ari Daivari. Stokely came out with Ethan Page, and Jeff Hardy came out and got yelled at because Ethan Page owns Jeff Hardy's and Private Party's contracts.
Matt Hardy.
Page talked about challenging MJF. That's another match that people have been talking about, that the writing's been on the wall, that Page is going to fight MJF. I don't know, though. If MJF is only doing pay-per-views, like you said, 90% of his matches are going to be on pay-per-views, then Page isn't going to get a title shot. So I think that the writing on the wall is clear there. Since Starks already has a match at Winter Coming is 2 weeks, I think Starks is going to win the Battle Royal for and get a shot at the Diamond Ring too. And that match will be 2-1.
Probably.
Maybe.
I mean, the whole thing with Starks was they had a big big to do before. The match itself was 30 seconds, not even, and then it was over. It was a Rochambeau done pin.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they're building up Starks Page. Okay, cool. because they have that thing. I'm going to win the ring. I'm going to win the ring. Okay, cool. Now they're going over the mid-card Diamond Ring Championship, whatever you want to call it. Cool.
So if Paige wins that, and that's really, it's between Starks and Paige. Nobody else has been up. So if Paige wins, he says he's going to challenge MJF after the Starks versus MJF match in 2 weeks. So that would hold true to MJF saying he's only going to fight 90% of his matches on TV. He did 2-1 on Winter's Coming. He knocks off both Starks and Paige and moves on from there to Eddie Kingston and Daniel Bryan.
And does promos and then pay-per-views. Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a long time. We got December, January, February. We got like 4 months before the next pay-per-view. So, 4 months of MJF interviews it's too much. So they need to have some matches. He's got to fight in between.
There's gonna be more matches than just pay-per-views. The whole thing was a troll when he's like, "I'm never gonna fight on TV." It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
If you look at his track record, though, he does not fight on TV very often.
He really does not wrestle a lot.
Right. And
he cut it all off. He brought it all up because he's heard it forever. Because he's presented himself that way since day one. I'm an attraction. I'm special. Okay.
I wish I could do that at work.
Yeah, right.
Show up one day a week and be like, I'm special. I'm an attraction. So this is the day I'm going to work.
Hey, if they put the title on you at your job, you probably could.
I'll ask if that will happen. All right. So next there was a segment with DMD, Hayter, and Britt. Britt was supportive of Hayter as champ. And I forget what that was. That's leading up to the interview with Tony Schiavone. He's doing a sit down with Hayter next week.
Right. So to paraphrase somebody I heard earlier today, they did an interview segment about an interview segment to set up an interview segment. Okay. Okay. It's story. It's Jamie Hayter. She's champion. I'm happy.
Sounds like a 3-hour Raw episode to me.
Another reason I stopped watching Raw.
Yeah. I'm not big on the whole interview thing, but
whatever. They're building story. Fine, let them build story. Cool. Yeah. I'll keep watching. If they're good in the ring, we know they're good in the ring. Let's see where the story goes. Maybe it'll be interesting.
All right, Anna Jay versus Willow. Despite attempted interference by Ty, Willow ended up winning with the Dr. Bomb. Ruby Soho then came out after the match and beat the crap out of Ty.
I think that's a huge upset. Willow Nightingale beating Anna JAS. I think that's a huge upset. I love it. Willow has got so much more charisma than Anna.
Yeah.
In the ring, she just moves better. She's got the rhythm. She's got the audience. Audience responds. She is such a better wrestler than a majority of the women's right now. Just a majority of the women at all.
Yeah, good.
And she's an ROHer, but now she's AEW. And I approve of that. She should stick with AEW, and she should win a title soon. I want to see her with a title.
Yeah, Anna Jay's lost a bunch of matches recently. She lost to Nyla. She lost to Toni Storm. So it wasn't really a surprise to see her lose to Willow, who's been being pushed a little bit lately. And I think, the Ruby Soho return, she got a pretty decent pop, and the crowd was chanting, welcome back. That was a nasty nose break that she had from Ty.
Yeah.
When Ty basically gave her finisher for real, and, her knee shattered her nose, and couldn't breathe through her nose for like a month. That could not have been fun for Ruby.
It was obviously not done on purpose, but man, you see somebody do a finisher for real, and that shit is ugly. Speaking of, I saw a video. Some guy was in a street fight. Dude, he bends over. Guy jumps on his back. He stands up. He's now in the package pile driver position. And he falls backwards, kind of hits him with like a dead-eye beach break kind of move. For real. And I'm like, oh, that hurt. Because he just landed on him, like full-on body press. These moves, if you do them wrong, are going to hurt.
Oh yeah.
And so good for Ruby. She came back. Let's see if they can do something with her. And, let's move it forward with the ladies. Let's just keep showing them. Let's just keep trying to do something. I believe the dumbest segment is next, though.
House of Black flashback was real short. Any of those three guys could really elevate Rampage significantly. Any single one of them fighting on Ramp, but no, we don't get them. Tony just refuses to use these guys, and I just don't understand it at all.
He doesn't refuse to use them, but he's not using them on Rampage. He's not using them on shows where you could draw more audience. He's booking crappy Rampages. I don't know what's going on with that.
He's not using guys who are stars. Like Brody King was pretty over with his feud with Darby. I'm like, wow, they're actually using this guy who has freaking so much talent.
Yep.
I mean, the dude pile drove Eric Redbeard. He gave him that crazy pile driver. I can't recall what his finisher's name is. That was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. Like was Brody King pile driving Eric Redbeard, because Eric Redbeard is like one of the biggest dudes in the business.
He is. He is.
So, and it's just to not see those guys used it's just so frustrating. And I don't want to hear, Buddy Murphy or Buddy Matthews has been hurt. No, Buddy Matthews is out fighting on the indies every weekend, and Tony was just not booking him.
What also kills me is the lack of a Miro. Where the fuck is Miro? That dude is a beast. He has the best character with the Redeemer. He was actually feuding with the House of Black. And then the House of Black disappeared and Miro disappeared. Maybe, now that the House of Black is back, Miro can feud with him. Because Tony seems to want that feud only for Miro. So I don't know. But
yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
They are back. He's promoting them. So let's see if they get matches.
Yep. Up next, QT challenged Orange, which I really don't like QT Marshall, but that was pretty hilarious.
I love Orange Cassidy. Cassidy. Doesn't even let him finish. He's like, yeah, okay. But, okay. But it's going to be a special match. It's going to be okay, yeah, fine. I love it. He's so easygoing. That's the entire character. He embodies it great. He's a great mid-carder. Great mid-card champion. Really brings the comedy and is entertaining as hell. And I don't care. He gets to beat up QT. Great.
Yeah. I think Orange is great. He's one of my favorites in AEW. So the more Orange, the better. But let's get him some better opponents. Like, how about Orange versus Buddy Matthews? Like, what would that be? If that was on Rampage, I'd be watching it live. But instead, I'm going to DVR Rampage, and I don't even know if I'll watch it. So it's like, come on, guys. Come on.
It could be better. It could be a lot better.
Yeah, and let's get these guys off the bench that actually have talent. Let's put them in the ring, or at least let us know. Like if you don't want to use Miro for 3 months, have someone beat the crap out of him, like Wardlow, and then in 3 months, guess what? You have a hugely anticipated return match. Yeah. Instead of the guy just being completely radio silent, you have no idea what's going on. So when he does come back, you're going to be like, oh, well, when's you just going to throw him back on the shelf again? It's like there's no build. So there's no long-term story, as everyone loves to say.
I think balancing his extensive roster is something that he needs to work on. It's something that Tony needs to work on, because somebody like Miro being just gone for months makes no sense. He's not hurt. He's just, we have nothing for you. What? Miro? I mean, I'm sorry. Maybe don't put the guns on TV and put Miro.
How about Miro versus Keith Lee on Rampage, the main event?
Okay.
The winner gets a TNT title.
I don't even care if it's for a title. Just put those two together. I'd love to see that match. Hell, put Brody King. Put it a 3-way. Who cares?
Brody King. Yeah. You're going to change. I mean, come on. There's so many things he could be doing, and he's giving us crap.
It's a little frustrating that Rampage isn't better, because it absolutely could be, just by using a lot of different people. But maybe he has I don't know.
Maybe someday he'll be on the show and we'll have a chance to ask.
I will grill him like a steak. So
all right, The last segment before the main event was the Daddy Ass and the Acclaim segment.
No, there was one other. We must have missed it. Somewhere in there was that stupid Jade
Oh,
segment.
Bow Wow. How can I skip over Jade Cargill and Bow Wow with the
Mind you,
celebration?
up until Bow Wow, I thought it was a great segment. I thought Jade was establishing her character, reestablishing the baddies, had a little shot of the baddies in the crowd, had her celebration. She looked fantastic. I thought for a second she was doing like a White Queen sort of Marvel Comics cosplay. No, when they got up close, those were dollar bill bra and bikini that she was wearing. Okay,
Right.
she's money. I get it. And her hair was silver because silver is money. I get it. Green because of. She looked brilliant. She always dresses to the nines. She is a star.
Yeah.
And then the little thing with Bow Wow, which was from Twitter, which I still don't care about.
So during the Bow Wow video, there was music in the background, and that would have been fine. But then you could hear other people talking in the background in the video. It's
like he did it on his phone at a party.
right.
Like, what the fuck is this kind of production?
It was like if I paid $50 for that for a cameo, I would have been pissed.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Pay for a cameo and you don't even get that quality. Fuck that.
Right. All right. Moving on. Daddy has Acclaim segment. The Acclaim said they're going to fight the best tag team in AEW, which I think is going to be a joke on Rampage. I think they're going to do some sort of stunt where they're pretending they're FTR or something. I don't know.
That's straight out of the guns. That's what they've been doing for like 3 months. No.
Yeah.
No. If they're a face team, even if they're tweener kind of face, they're definitely over his face. They need to just play it straight, bring out a team, and have a good fucking match. But I'm afraid that their announcement will be something different, and then the Dynamite match will just not be entertaining. But it's only an announcement on Rampage. It's not the actual match.
Maybe it'll be Brody King and Malachi Black will come out and fight him.
Maybe.
Or how about Kenny Omega and Takeshita could come out and fight him?
I mean, you could name any number of people, but they're not official tag teams in AEW. They're number one tag teams. We have rankings. Who's been the number one contenders for 18 months? It's FTR. So, if that's, I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow.
Well,
one way or the other.
It's something interesting for Rampage.
Well, I mean, the announcement's interesting. I don't know about any of the matches, but the announcement is.
And I do like Darby versus Cole Carter. I do think Cole Carter has a lot of potential.
And the fact is, he's with the Factory, and that immediately kills any interest I have.
Yeah, well, he probably, if he's any good, he won't be in there for long. Hopefully.
Let's hope, because I still like Nick Camarado, and I wish he if he were better, maybe he'd be getting a push. I don't know. I loved his look when he first showed up. He was just this big, hairy, massive dude, and I thought, he looks like a caveman. You should add him into the Jungle Express faction. And you'd have little tiny Marco, then you'd have Jungle Boy, then you'd have Camarado, then you'd have Luchasaurus. You'd have a dinosaur, you'd have a caveman, you'd have the Jungle Boy, you'd have the fucking midget.
Did you see the Rampage in LA where Camarado, I can't even say his name right. Camarado was fighting, I can't even remember who he was fighting, but the crowd started chanting Hacksaw Duggan. And then the crowd was like doing the thumb thing, and they started chanting, "Ho!"
Oh my god! See, that would be hysterical.
Camarado was like getting all upset and yelling at the crowd, and then he goes onto Twitter that night and he's like, "I'm not Jim Duggan. Jim Duggan sucked." Yeah. And I was like, "That's the most crowd response I think he's ever gotten. He should stick with that. They should bring Jim Duggan in and have him come out with a 2x4. Like that would have been, everyone would have marked out for that."
Admittedly, they would have. And Nick Camarado, I still think, has an upside. He's starting to get older. I mean, he looks like he's maybe in his 30s, but maybe he's younger than that. Maybe he's just a testosterone-laden.
He's 31.
Okay, 31. So yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
so-
he's still got plenty of time left in his career. So I just hope that whatever wrestling he needs to learn, he can pick up. I've never seen him actually in the ring, other than like twice, 3 times maybe. He just never
Yeah,
wrestles.
his match with Wardlow I thought was pretty impressive. He freaking one hand overhead pressed Wardlow.
That's what I'm
I mean,
saying. He's
like, what the
got
hell?
he's got skills. I've always liked him, but the second he got saddled into the factory with QT, done. Aaron Solo,
No.
I think he deserves the factory. I think he's about that level.
Yeah.
Anthony Ogogo had potential originally, then the Cody match. Now he really needs to be rehabbed. He's been on Dark. They were rehabbing him. Again, he's perfect in the factory.
Yep.
But not Camarado and Nick Cage, I think. Not Nick Cage. What is that? Colton. God damn it, I can't remember his name.
Cole Carter.
Him,
Cole
yeah.
Carter.
I think he so far has been moderately interesting, so maybe this match on Rampage will impress me. Hard to know.
Yeah. Now I want to watch Rampage.
Just for one match.
To see how Cole Carter. Hopefully he doesn't make it some stupid squash match with tons of interference. Hopefully he gets his shit in.
Yeah.
And then I would be interested in Lethal and someone versus Private Party, but not Jarrett.
Oh, I'm not going to watch that match. I'm just not. I just don't have any interest in watching Jeff Jarrett, and I definitely have no interest in hearing him.
All right, so let's move on to the main event.
I'm anti-Jeff Jarrett.
And we got to get Jeff Jarrett on the show. Maybe we could arrange that.
Him and Cornette.
Yeah.
My favorites.
So main event, Elite versus Death Triangle, match number 3. Death Triangle up 2-0.
Yeah.
A lot of people thinking that the Death Triangle is going to win with the hammer again and go up 3-zip. So the Elite can come back and force an unlikely Game 7.
Well, you don't want to fall into obvious patterns.
Yep.
And I think they avoided that. I think they're doing a good job of avoiding it. This is yet another amazing example of what these 6 men can do together. The first half of the match wasn't even in the match. It was on the ramp before they even started the match, which, again, made things different. Then there was the inner turmoil with Penta and Phoenix. Because Phoenix is and always has been a face and continues to be a face. And Penta will go back and forth, and Pac has always been a heel. That's been their dynamic in the Death Triangle.
Yep.
And so Pac and Penta both trying to cheat, both not being able to. And, the flare-up between Penta and Ray, and then they just immediately ignored it and started to go back on offense. And there is no way we can do justice to this match anytime quickly. We would have to spend another good hour talking just about this match if we wanted to come close to doing it justice. Once again, these 6 men made magic. It was phenomenal.
I could run through a lot of the spots in this match that I thought were incredible. Just the beginning, there was all kinds of moves outside the ring area. There was Matt Jackson did an incredible flying body press off the ramp onto all 3 Death Triangle. Kenny was setting up for the full ramp running V-trigger, kind of like Muta used to do in Japan, where he would run all the way back to the entrance and then run all the way down the entrance and clothesline his opponent. Kenny did it in the match with Daniel Bryan, and he smashed Bryan with the V-trigger. This time Pac saw it coming and countered with a super kick. I thought it was awesome when the Bucks powerbombed both the Lucha Brothers onto the side of the apron KO style at the same time.
Yeah, there were so many combination moves of all 3 people doing like a super kick party on one person, or the Death Triangle doing their variety of moves that all combined. The chemistry all of these guys have combined with each other. We know Kenny Omega, Pac, and OC had a great triple threat match when Kenny was champion.
Mm-hmm.
And Kenny again shows, working with Pac, they are excellent. And of course, we know the Lucha Brothers versus the Bucks. So these 6 guys are literally the best trios I think I've ever seen. And they just do stuff that stuns me every single time. And that's why this best of 7 series is a fantastic idea, because I know every time there's going to be a great match. And once again, that's what this was, a great match.
Yeah, it delivered. I really enjoyed the match tonight. I wanted to, before this podcast, go back and watch all 3 of them, because there's stories that are being told from match to match to match that you have to have a really good eye to be able to go back and look. You have to really look deep and see certain moves that are countered, that are certain moves that are hit in the first match are going to be countered in the second match. And then in the third match, you'll see a counter to a counter to a count, all building off their previous work. So I do want to go back and watch, for all of the matches kind of in a row, just to see how everything evolves.
They are all so experienced with each other that they know the moves that are coming. They know how to move with them. They're, like I said before, their chemistry, everything, their innovation. They by the end of this, they will have new moves we've never seen. I'm calling it now.
Yeah. When you had mentioned that when Penta and Phoenix, got physical and they were arguing about the hammer, Kenny went to hit Penta with a V trigger, and Penta moved, and Kenny destroyed Phoenix with a huge knee right to his face.
Mm-hmm.
And Phoenix fell out of the ring, and Kenny was like, oh my God. And he kind of looked down at Phoenix like, are you okay? And it was kind of, because Kenny and Phoenix have a history together, and they've always had great respect for each other.
Yeah.
And then kind of like at the last second, Kenny's like, wait a minute, what am I doing? And he like brushes his hand off to Phoenix like, screw you, I don't give a shit about you. And then he went back to fighting Penta. But I thought that was kind of a pretty cool angle.
Because they're both faces. Because the history and the honor and the respect they have, they're both faces. And so that was a face reaction that he had towards hurting somebody who he genuinely likes.
Yep.
So Kenny is a great storyteller, and people who say otherwise are biased.
Right.
I'm not biased. They are.
Yeah, it's just those little subtleties, those little things that you notice.
Yeah.
Another thing that I noticed that I thought was pretty wild was when Kenny and Kota Ibushi formed the Golden Lovers. One of their staple moves as a tag team was a triangle moonsault, where they both stood on the same turnbuckle and did a moonsault to the outside onto a standing opponent, and they called that the triangle moonsault when they both did it at the same time. Death Triangle hit a triple triangle moonsault, which not only is a play on words, but it's also a play on one of the Golden Lovers moves, where two of the Death Triangle flipped to the outside and the other one flipped back into the ring. And I thought that was pretty awesome.
As a matter of fact, Excalibur called it the Triangle Offense.
Yeah.
Which was a callback to the triangle move or whatever you were calling for the Golden
Lovers. The triangle moonsault, yeah.
So they literally, Excalibur knew what they were doing when they called that out. And yeah, of course, that's an amazing move. You do the double moonsault, from the corner out, and then you had Pac who was going on the inside. What I found, there was a move at one point, it was a sequence, and it left Kenny or one of the Bucks in the corner, and Pac got up in the corner like, I'm going to hit my finisher.
Yeah.
And then he stepped down, and I'm like, oh, it wasn't time. There's 3 minutes left.
Pretty sure that was a botch. I think Pac should have just realized what was happening there and just done a flying elbow and then gone for the cover instead of I'm not supposed to jump yet.
Yeah, but I don't know. He just decided I'm going to just jump down, and then I was like, okay.
Yeah, and he does have. I think probably most fans didn't notice that because there was so much action. Phoenix did an incredible. He bounced off the rope and did a dive out of the ring that was he was moving so fast.
Yeah.
When he did that, it's just unbelievable the speed of these guys.
The things that they do, and that's why when you see somebody young and talented like Dante Martin, and some of the things he can do. Like last week when he did the backwards no-look middle rope springboard. I'm like, you cannot teach somebody to do that. And he was, oh my God. So when you see Pac and Penta and Phoenix and the Bucks, all these high flyers who are so amazing and so experienced, and then you look at the next generation, Dante and Darius and those guys, you're like, holy crap. The evolution of this sport continues to a level where even people like Wardlow are doing top rope moves.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's just incredible.
He's a freak. He's a freak. He's a freak of nature, more so than Scott Steiner ever was.
Scotty was one of the most innovative wrestlers ever. He was like the first big man that was doing, they were called head scissors.
Before the roids, Scott Steiner was a true innovator. I saw the very first Frankensteiner. It was not a head scissors takeover. It was a true Frankensteiner. It was the first one, and it was in slow motion. I swear to you. He got up on the shoulders. He slowly went back, slowly put his head all the way down, and then the guy slowly bent over, and then eventually flipped a little. And I'm like, that is the slowest Frankensteiner I've ever seen. And he never did it that slow again, but that first one. Now, it was impressive when he was a little bulked up as the Steiner brother. Once he hit the roids, he only did the Frankensteiner once or twice, but it was impressive as shit when it was the big Papa Pump version.
Yeah, he could still do it in the corner off the second rope, which, I mean, Terry Funk was doing that at 60. But the standing Frankensteiner in the ring is still incredibly difficult to do. Remember, Kenny did it in one of his matches, I think shortly after he won the title. It was pretty awesome. So back to the match. Pac hit a crazy avalanche Falcon Arrow to Kenny off the top rope, which was wild. And then Kenny got hit. Pac hit Kenny with a really sick backdrop suplex where Kenny landed on his shoulder and his side of his neck and his side of his face.
Yeah.
And I just hate to see Kenny do that. I mean, it makes the match look awesome and believable and helps the crowd get invested. But dude, come on. You just had like reconstructive shoulder surgery. You do not need to be taking head drops. I just don't understand why he needs to do it.
It's the same thing as Bryan Danielson.
Yeah.
It's because he's just so committed that he's willing to risk his own health to make it look good.
Yeah.
And you hate to see it, but you love to see it.
Yeah, he took almost the full brunt of the impact on his right shoulder and the right side of his neck. And I'm wondering if maybe the left one was the one he had surgically repaired. But
I think it might have been.
When on BTE they showed him getting the that crazy suction therapy
Cups.
that leads to the cup therapy. It's just, dude, come on, man. I just hate to see it. I mean, I don't know. It makes the matches better, I guess, but come on, just stay healthy. I don't want you to go out another year again. You only got so many left. So.
I also want to see Kenny stay healthy because he lost so much time.
Yeah.
And once again, this match proved to me why Nick and Matt Jackson truly are the best tag team. Their moves, their fluidity, their ability to move in and out of the ring, to combine with each other. Yes, of course, obviously the Lucha Brothers are just as good. But to me, just watching Nick and Matt together, watching those guys, they pull off stuff. It impresses the shit out of me every time. And I'm like, they're phenomenal. They start moving around the ring. They start doing these moves. They do more bang for your buck.
Yep.
They do that, then they're in the Meltzer driver. Suddenly they're in doing this. Suddenly, how the hell do they do this crap? So I'm just every time. That's why I love this 7-match sequence. That's why I love them against the Death Triangle. That's why they're doing it. Because they know they're going to have good matches and they're going to be interesting. They're going to tell a long, intricate story. And I love
Yep.
that. And
Yep.
I wish there was more of that across all of the different cards. Across the mid card, across the lower card, the women's. I just wish all of the divisions got that same sort of storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah. So Pac hits the brainbuster on Matt Jackson and starts setting up for the Black Arrow. Matt got his knees up and rolled up Pac for a clean win. No hammer involved. Kenny closes the show out. Goodbye and good night. Bang. Kind of a surprising finish. I did not expect a clean finish. I did not expect the Elite to win, but I will definitely take it because it makes things a little more unpredictable. So it's not going to be a go up 3 and then we're going to have 3 more where the Elite wins them all. It would have been 3 predictable matches. So I think the Elite's going to win game 4 and tie it up just to keep things unpredictable. I like that.
It's hard to know. I have faith in this story. I think they may lose the next one. Like you were expecting it to go 3-0 and then they had to come back. They might go 3-1 and then come back. So
if it's 3-1 though, you have two predictable matches because you know it's going 7 no matter what.
It is going 7. We know this.
And I don't know that the Elite are going to win the titles. I think they will, but I don't think it's a given. I'm going to be on the edge of my seat or standing during that 7th match because I don't know who's going to win.
If Kenny wants to go back to singles and the Bucks want to do whatever they do, then I think they'll lose. Yeah. But I don't think they're going to lose. I mean, I didn't think they would lose the title at the pay-per-view, and here we are, with the best of 7, so they went a totally different direction, and they lost. But this is the Trios title. It was made specifically for Kenny and the Bucks. This is their time to take the titles and run with it. But I think other than just, here's the titles, you guys run with it forever, I think the series of 7 is doing more to build the titles than any other decisions they could have made.
Yeah.
I think this is the best choice they've made for the titles. Absolutely the best.
Yeah, I think it definitely helps build them up. Just looking at the match ratings on Cage Match, if you're not familiar with Cage Match ratings, they're pretty solid. They're kind of similar to Meltzer's star ratings, but they're a little more honest because it's more opinions for more people.
It's crowdsourced.
So some and there's not a lot of bias in there just yet. It's starting to happen, and you can go in and you can almost filter that out. Like Kenny Omega's rated a 9.5 out of 10, and then you can go at his rating and you can see all the people who rated him a 0 or a 1, and you can kind of remove that nonsense. But so I think it's a pretty decent system. So the ratings for the first 3 matches in the series so far. The fans gave Full Gear a 9.09 rating out of 10, which is excellent. That's 5-star plus territory.
Good, yeah.
Match 2, they gave it an 8.3, and last night's match they gave an 8.1, so down a little bit.
Well, again, in a series of 7, you're going to have an ebb and a flow.
Yep.
And I think that people are like, oh, I'm getting tired of it. It wasn't as good as the previous. Okay, well, that first one was so good, it's going to be hard to top it unless they, blow somebody up.
Right.
So the fact that it's still in the 8s still means people are responding well to it. That's what I see.
Definitely. And unfortunately, they're not fighting next week, so we got to wait 2 weeks until winter is coming.
I don't know what I feel about that kind of stuff, but
having to wait there.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's fine. They have stuff going on. Tony's got his schedule, whatever. I just, I was interested in just seeing 7 straight weeks of really, really amazing wrestling matches. I'm sure Dynamite is going to be fine, but I don't have that guaranteed banger match at this point.
No, definitely not for next week. Well, in 2 weeks, winter is coming. It's going to be awesome because we'll have the Elite versus Death Triangle, and we'll have MJF versus Starks, and then MJF versus Ethan Page.
Right,
So
and that's Winter's Coming.
uh,
That's one of their big televised types of events. That's their semi pay-per-views.
what next week is a little light right now. We got the Battle Royal, and what else is on for next week?
The Acclaimed and whatever team they name.
Yeah. So
But-
next week, yeah, it's still. Oh, we got Claudio. No, we got the tag team match between Claudio and Yuta against Jake Hager and Garcia next week.
Well, okay, cool.
Some Historia.
Cool, yay. I like those guys. I don't know that, again, that entire storyline isn't really thrilling me. It'll be a great match.
I just want to know if Claudio's going to wear the purple hat next week.
No. He stomped on the hat. He's very anti-hat. That's the embodiment of sports entertainer, and he's like, no, I'm a wrestler.
Right. I love the sign at last week's show where someone just had the purple hat drawn out and it just said hat underneath it.
Jake Hager's getting over with the hat. I don't know how, but he's getting over with the hat.
I like Jake. I mean, and I think I mentioned this on the previous shows. Like, I don't want to see him main eventing with title shots, but I don't mind watching Jake. Like, I enjoyed his match with Orange. It was kind of funny.
He's actually a pretty good mid-carder, but again, like Brian Danielson doesn't want a title. He said, I don't want a title. They give it to me, sure, but I don't want it. So he's not going for titles. That's why he's got all these other types of matches and stories and everything else that's going on, because that's what he's interested in. That's what he wants to do.
All right. I think we're
way over time.
Almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
But it's almost longer than Dynamite. It is longer if you take the commercial breaks out. So
yeah. Well, this is definitely a very long podcast.
it was an eventful show, and I think we spent probably 45 minutes talking about that MJF interview, which was loaded and was awesome. So
Yep.
he is truly a generational talent. There's no doubt about it. He's a genius, and I can't wait till he starts working against the Elite, just to see what might come out of this. So I'm just hoping that's something that Tony's going to allow to happen. So
I'm sure there'll be a program versus Hangman. I'm sure there'll be so many programs. I think MJF is going to be around a long, long time. Maybe not always as champion, but this first run, again, I think there's going to be that switch with Eddie, and I think he will get a lengthy run after that.
And he did say about the bidding war of 24, Hollywood could be the winner. And he wouldn't have to look at all those ugly wrestling fans out in the audience.
He has already started his movie career.
He has.
All right.
All right. That's going to do it. And we'll cue the outro.